The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Let's see. This mail says opportunities to build a financial cushion in comics. I might, maybe the answer to this mail and the summary is take opportunities to build a financial cushion around comics is probably the way I'm gonna answer this mail out the gate. But let's see what we got here. It says, "Hey Perch, this email starts weird, but stay with me. All right, you have my attention. It can't be any weirder than those spam messages. I get them just again every now and then. The ones that go, "Hey, like we caught, we infected your computer, and we caught you on video masturbating, and if you don't give us a weird amount, like $714, then we will release this to all your friends." And I'm just wondering who they're getting with. I mean, it must work, but who are they getting with that? And part of their proof is like, here's your password to prove that we hacked your computer, but it's not my password. Like, I don't even know I don't even know what's going on with all this stuff. It's very strange. But anyway, I get some people must do it. I don't know. Well, whatever. Anyway, hey, Perch, email starts weird to stay with me. Taylor Swift and Rihanna, okay, are both successful female vocalists who have been active for more than a decade, both with a comparable number of concert tours and number one hits. However, Taylor Swift's estimated worth is $570 million, while Rihanna is $1.4 billion. I think that's about to change with the tours that Taylor Swift's on, by the way. It feels like that's going to shift. The difference is explained by most of Rihanna's net worth coming from her makeup company, Fenty Beauty. Rihanna was able to successfully spin off her existing skills as an entertainer, being well-known, well-liked, good-looking, into a relevant and successful side business that ended up netting her more money than her main career. My question is, what are the Fenty Beauty opportunities for indie comics? What can creators do to build up a financial cushion so they can stop feeling like each project might be their last one? Okay, very good. Well, first, okay, let me pause here. It's a great question, and it's a great example. And just for anyone, comics, wherever you happen to be, it's always important to look for what your side hustle might be. If you remember that kind of interview with Sean Murphy, one of them, and we were talking about buying real estate. I mean, first of all, it's expensive. You can't just casually walk in and buy real estate, but it is one of those things, fair or unfair, that as you start to build up this additional business stream, it winds up making a decent amount of money. You can, do Airbnb, you can rent out your house, you can flip, you can do all kinds of things that start to build up kind of more wealth. I've given this advice before on comic shops. You never want to go out there and just sell back issues or just sell new issues. You want to diversify what you're selling. You want to have a lot of different ways to make that money. And the same thing goes for you as a person. Anything you can do to have more things going is good. The part that psychs people out is at the very beginning. You're making money and you have a job, and that is kind of your worldview. This definitely applies to comics. Let's say you're making $50,000 a year, and that's what you do, and you've acclimated to it. You've budgeted around it. You know what kind of car you can drive. You know what kind of house you can afford, all that kind of stuff. You know what to do with that 50,000. And what often happens, this happens to a lot of people, is they'll dabble in something like, yeah, I think I'll start to make T-shirts, whatever. And so they'll get a couple designs and they'll put them up, and their first month they make like $12, and they look at this and they go, shit, it's $12 is so far away from $50,000. This isn't worth doing, particularly given that, I spend 40 hours a week on my $50,000 a year job. And, I went home and spent, 2 hours a night on my T-shirt business. So, that's 10 hours. That's 1/4 of the $50,000 job. I should be making, at least, 15,000 or so to 12.5, whatever. I should be making over $10,000 in order to make it worth my time, because it's, that would be the equivalent to the amount of effort I'm putting into this. But it doesn't work that way. You are literally starting a business from zero. And so if you think that you're going to, instantly make equivalent to your current job, you're going to give up. And people do. Most people do. But the story also plays out that if you, wait 2 years, suddenly you find that not only are you making, what you hope to make in a lot of cases, but you're making more because it happens to be more of a passion project, something you're interested in. And that 10 hours a week you're making t-shirts is suddenly netting the same amount as your 40-hour week job. So now you're getting much more for the time you spend. And then if you could start up a third or fourth thing, kind of keep hustling, keep finding those business opportunities, it's good for you. But you have to be willing to kind of put in the early effort, which is going to feel like a waste of time. So this same thing goes for comics. What can you do to get that side hustle going? Well, strictly within comics, your options are a little limited. If you're an artist, you can do commissions. You can start to build up kind of your own, business of art. And people do. A lot of artists do. They'll do little mini posters or T-shirts or things of characters. They have to be careful that Marvel doesn't come around and sue them or for putting the characters like that on. They'll go do work for gaming companies, electronic or tabletop. And so they start to kind of get more work out there. And quite frankly, a lot of artists support themselves with a lot of that money. There was a video or a question somebody else asked me about, doing art for children's books, and does it pay more than comics? And in some cases, yes. So, that's how you can kind of broaden what it is you do. But a different way to look at it, if you're a writer, artist, or somebody in comics, is to say, well, what's something kind of adjacent to comics that you could do, which is, you're still able to leverage who you are. Let's say you have a modest amount of fame. You're not a huge name in comics, but people know who you are. And you can start to at least do some things like, I'm going to, the answer of several people have gone to is like, I'm going to do a Substack or I'm going to do a column. Yeah, that could be good for keeping your name out there. There's not a lot of evidence that actually brings you in money. It becomes another marketing vehicle for you. So to use a Rihanna example, that'd be a little bit like Rihanna going and giving interviews, doing a newsletter, stuff like that. It's not necessarily going to net her the money, of the cosmetic company, but it is making sure that her name is secured and out there. So that's valuable. But something, perhaps stronger might be you've got different businesses trying to make movie adaptions. You can certainly kind of work your way into there. You can, one of the things that always strikes me as kind of crazy in comics is, and I get why, but is, people who have been fairly successful, basically setting up foundations or groups to help other people be successful. So how do you help people break into comics? How do you teach them the ropes, all that kind of stuff? Now, the challenge is there's not a lot of money in that. As a side hustle, it's not going to be like what Rihanna did, but it'd be nice. I'll throw that out there. Some kind of level of mentorship program, other things like that. But the biggest thing, quite frankly, to do with comics is to figure out, the arts in general is tougher. You have the mega stardom of a pop singer who can do cosmetics or fashion. That makes sense. You don't have those ready-made opportunities for comic artists. For pro wrestlers, you can have people who get into acting. That becomes their side hustle and bigger hustle. They start to be a wrestler. They get to be, you got The Rock or you got John Cena, or people who then exit out and do something else. So I think that there's a bunch of different, other businesses, and art's hard. I think comics, I don't have an amazing answer for you. The best thing I would say is to start putting effort and time into, basically into businesses that, are something you can do with your time. So if you're an artist, it's a time consuming job. Can you do things like property, like appraisal, like, areas where you can kind of have that time running simultaneous to what you're doing. You're drawing, but you have a bunch of properties. I knew an artist once, this is a while ago, who had, and it wasn't in comics, in gaming, who had bought, basically as soon as they had enough money, they took out a loan, bought another house, and they rented out that house. But they also reserved it for them. So they basically became kind of this artist who traveled from location to location, home to home. And they would just set up shop, live there for a month, because their job could travel with them, they could do whatever they want. They found it, invigorating for their career. They were always traveling around, always going to different places. And then when they weren't in the place they were staying at, they were, they're basically renting out, making money. And they actually, this guy made way more money off the rentals and the property than the art, like significantly more, because the rent was paying for the mortgage plus about 20% to live off of. And I think by the time it was all over, he had like 8 or 9 places, and it was basically how he was living. And then as I recall, he bought a mini office building and then started renting that out. So I mean, anyway, there's a lot of different things. I love the idea. It is definitely how people should think. How do I basically take my career and get money into other things so I'm not wholly dependent on this? Love that. Anyway, thanks very much for writing. Let me know what you think side hustles could be for people in comics, and thanks for listening.